I absolutely do believe that in the attention-deprived society that we're in right now, schools can fight back against this. Schools can be a sanctuary of focus in a world that is losing focus, and that's something I passionately believe that my lesson should look like.
Hi, Will. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a bit of a mad time recently, as I'm sure you can attest to as well. So the podcast has taken somewhat of a back seat, I must be honest. So I'm hoping that our chat today is sort of the catalyst that I've been waiting for to get back on track. So if it's okay with you, I'll do a quick intro of you. As far as I know, I've done a little bit of background digging, so you might be surprised about some of the facts I know, but I'm sure there will be gaps. So, I mean, basically, I love connecting with passionate educators, and you definitely fit the mold. So that's really why we're having this chat today. So here goes. So firstly, you're an experienced maths teacher working at a prominent British and IB curriculum school here in Abu Dhabi, where I believe you're known as Mr. Mac. You are the founder of advancemaths.com. That's ADD, advancemaths.com. You're an editorial board member for FJES, the Falcon Journal of Emerging Scholars, which is an international peer-reviewed digital journal specifically designed to showcase scientific and academic research authored by high school students. I got that from the website, obviously. You are a very accomplished chess player and coach. And the thing that I was a bit surprised about is that you used to be a scuba diving instructor in Greece and Thailand before entering the teaching profession. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. You are currently pursuing a doctorate in education through the University of Buckingham. And probably the catalyst, I guess, for this chat is that you are the main or chief organizer of the Abu Dhabi Maths Teachers Conference, which takes place on a week Saturday on the 13th of June. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So just a few highlights, and you're clearly a busy chap. What else can you tell me that I've missed? Who's Will McLoughlin?
That was quite comprehensive. You know me better than I know myself. Yeah. Thank you so much for the kind introduction and for bragging on my behalf.
Let's talk about sort of the main reason why we are here, which is next week Saturday, the Abu Dhabi Maths Teachers Conference. So what is the history of this event? How many years has it been going? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about last year.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I'm a massive geek for teaching, as I'm sure you are as well. And there's nothing I like more than just discussing and thinking deeply about our profession. I really struggled to find the time to do that during the normal working week. And so last year, there's a few of us in Abu Dhabi who had the energy and motivation to push this through to become a Saturday event for us to network and connect with other maths educators in the city, or in the UAE. Actually, there were people who travelled quite far. We were very deliberate that we wanted it to be primary and secondary cross-phase, all the way from EAYFS, and there's even some maths educators from universities who show interest, who come along as well. And I think that's important. I think we would learn a lot if secondary teachers taught to primary teachers more, and less so, but primary teachers also can learn a lot from secondary teachers. But I absolutely am in awe at the talent of primary teachers, and the more I talk to them about teaching, the more I learn. So anyway, so last year we kicked it off with the inaugural event, and we had I think about 18 presenters and about 90 attendees, which was just brilliant. I never imagined we would get those numbers on a Saturday.
Okay.
And this year the numbers are looking a bit better. We've got a few more presenters, and we've got over 150 people signed up. We'll see how many people attend on the day, but I'm really, really enthusiastic this year, and I've got a few more ideas of how we can add a bit of value to it this time. I'll also just say that there aren't many professions that are so willing to give up their weekends to talk about geeky stuff to do with their jobs, and I think it's a testament to the profession, to the education field, that people really want to show up on a Saturday and talk about maths teaching.
That is one of those things about our subject, though. It's like maths is maths, but it's also different, and it's so rich and rewarding to hear different sort of perspectives from like even like Filipino or Pakistani or IB, or I mean we live in the melting pot, don't we? So it's certainly it's not just maths.
Yes,
that's for sure.
I'm really glad that we've got speakers presenting on a few specific curriculum, but we're trying to make it quite wide ranging, and we definitely do have people attending from nearly every curriculum that is represented in the region, which is very nice.
Okay, so if someone is sort of undecided at this point, what would you say to convince them to join?
All right. Well, I will say that I am doing me and the committee are doing a lot behind the scenes to make sure that every second is valuable, and we really, really value your weekend. And so it is my commitment to attendees that every second will be valuable. It will not be a typical CPD. It will be an engaging, interesting, insightful experience.
So if people still want to sign up, do they go to advancedmaths.com? Is that the best place?
Yeah, yes, please. advancedmaths.com/ADMTC, and hopefully you can add that to the description, please.
I'll do that. Moving on to your one of your sort of things that keep you busy is advancedmaths.com. And so where did this idea come from? How long have you been doing it? Who are your main people that use it? Teachers, students, parents?
Yeah. Okay, so in April 2020, I was going a little bit crazy, as a lot of the world was, and I was looking for a outlet for my energy. I needed something to keep me busy as a hobby, and I started recording my lessons that I was teaching online at the time. And I realized I could make it better and better, and I realized quite quickly that I was actually really good at animating videos.
Okay.
And so the YouTube channel started pretty bad, but quickly it became good. And I've deleted all the bad ones. You'll be glad to know. But anyway, the YouTube channel grew for about 2 years. And then about 2022, I decided I also needed a website to be an index for all the videos. And that website also grew into just a place where I throw my worksheets now, because I started developing worksheets and other resources as well on there. And from there, it's grown and grown and grown. And there are more resources than ever on there now. 6 years later, crazy how fast that's gone.
What grade levels or age groups again? Sorry.
From British Curriculum Year 7 all the way up to IB at the moment. We're looking to expand the A-level provision, but it's mainly we've got GCSE covered really well, and we've got IB covered. The SL courses especially covered really well on there, and it's the full videos for definitely IB courses for every topic, and also that's probably an exaggeration. There's probably 1 or 2 topics missing, but and there's also worksheets for a lot of topics that are normally missing essential stuff like Verona diagrams. I've made a full exam booklet on Verona diagrams, and I think I found it really difficult to find good Verona questions on the internet already, and so I did that, and I put a lot of thought into it, and I think I created something quite cool there, whereas original. Same with the Casio CG50, got a worksheet dedicated to that, and financial maths and stuff like that as well. The topics that are not well served by the current IB offering, I think I've ticked that really well. Anyway, Advanced Maths, it's going really well. It fills my heart with joy to see a couple of thousand people log in every day to it.
Oh wow! Okay, nice.
Yeah, and it's the YouTube channel this year, recently, in fact last month, crossed 800,000 views, The website is costing $500,000 so far. And it's really nice to log in one day and see that people from Chile or Laos or Kiribati, am I saying that right? Yeah. But it's nice to see those countries pop up in the stats list. Not many, obviously, but it's just lovely that people on the other side of the planet are using my stuff, and it is good.
And then online learning and disruption, words that we in this part of the world have unfortunately had to revisit after our nightmares of COVID. So this is my first year back in the classroom proper for sort of 8 years. So for me, it was a little bit of a shock to the system. So how was your experience?
Yeah, it was definitely a shock. It was a change of pace. My hot take from all this is, I think it did it a lot better this time.
Better
than COVID. And one thing that I've been really focusing in my own teaching practice in the classroom for the last 2 years is active participation, like really making sure that every kid in the class is thinking every 10 to 20 seconds in some way, and me seeing that somehow, whether it's on mini whiteboards, whether it's by a cold call, or whether it's by some sort of multiple choice or something. You know, I absolutely love my mini whiteboards. I would really struggle to teach a full lesson without mini whiteboards, but I was forced to during this online, and like I just use the chat function so much. I definitely use cold call a lot.
What's cold call? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So I would ask you a question. I would say, what color is my shirt? Vaughn. Okay. And the idea is that every single student in the class has the answer on the tip of their tongue.
All right.
And if Vaughn, if I said your name and you hesitated for 5 seconds and then didn't answer, you know, it gives the game away that you're obviously not listening. And you know, I kind of hold you to accountable in a light way. I would say something like, Vaughn, you weren't listening, were you, pal? Could you repeat the question? What did I say? But quickly, the idea is that you build a classroom culture that every single question, everybody has an answer on the tip of the tongue ready to go, because that's what the pause is for, and then the name, and it's instant. And so it's a rapid-paced questioning. Okay. The way it's delivered is that the idea is that every single student thinks. Because if you don't think and you're called upon, it's not as good a feeling as if you do have the right answer ready to go, and you praise them and have the right one.
It's obviously one of those questioning techniques, the thinking time. I mean, I've been teaching for like 27 years, and I still fall into the trap of just asking a question and then looking for a response. And it's terrible. It's terrible pedagogy. You just need to give them thinking time, force them to have thinking time in a way, or do think, pair, share, or something. Yeah, and not everyone processes at the same speed, as we all know.
I had a similar routine for the chat as well, where I would say, okay, there's a missing number here. And I would highlight this gap on my screen. I'd say, I want you to all think of that number. I do not want you to send it to me yet. In 5 seconds, all of you are going to press enter on your keyboard and send it at the same time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And that was my routine. And we made sure we repeated the same script every time, or a very similar script. So that students knew how to participate and engage. And it was a way of convincing me that they hadn't just copied the number above on the chat. Because if they all appear at the same time, that's really convincing to me that the timing is too good. And so it was things like that were I think were the difference this time, where I was able to build a culture in my online lessons, similar to the culture in my actual lessons of, I care about your thinking. I want to hear from you. I want you to be part of this lesson, and I will be upset if you won't.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's chalk and cheese, really. This and COVID. COVID was such a shock to everyone's system. So now it's like the leadership are more sort of tuned into our needs and well-being and support and technical support. Teachers are far more tech savvy, just setting up meetings in advance for 5 weeks just in case. And then of course we had the sudden week again after 2 weeks back, and it's like, okay, we're ready. Previously it was like, what's going on? So on the other hand, what about, I mean, obviously exam cancellations was a big thing, and I know some of our grade 12s were extremely happy about that, and others were completely the opposite. So I guess you had the same. What about, so talk us through your experiences and GCSEs as well.
Yeah, so the IB students, our school does the British curriculum to GCSE,
yeah,
and then does the IB diploma in what we would call year 12 and year 13. And the IB for us was a lot smoother than the GCSE. The GCSE we had to collate a lot of evidence last minute for, and that was a bit of a rush, a bit frantic. But we're nearing the end of that process now, we got through it, and we did the best we possibly can in the situation for our students. And I think
but is that a case of giving them past papers that you've tweaked yourselves? Or, I mean, how did it work?
Yeah, we gave the unseen 2026 May paper to them because we had access to that, and then we also had a second version that we tweaked ourselves for any stragglers, for whatever reason they were struggling.
Okay, well, hopefully it's all behind us, but who knows? At least the summer's going to give us a respite. So one thing we've chatted about before was sort of your ideas of maths teaching and versus, well, not mine, but just general. I mean, you've already mentioned some really useful, interesting techniques with whiteboards and things, and you sound like you're extremely organized in terms of making progress of each individual student visible, which is obviously one of the big things we have to do these days. So, I mean, part of it is that you guys have a specific focus in terms of an exam to work towards. We will be probably bringing in e-assessments at some point. Well, our current grade 8s, I believe, will be our first cohort, but still, we do have a little bit more leeway in terms of making maths more practical, more fun, more engaging, more group work, etc. Maybe I'm throwing the wrong adjectives out there, but what are some of your sort of main beliefs about how a 11 to 14-year-old child should learn maths? And you can talk about the older students as well. I'm just this is my world at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing to say is that I do have quite strong opinions on this. I like that. But and I feel like my opinions are quite research informed, and there's a coherent philosophy behind them. However, it is definitely an area of debate. It's been an area of debate for at least 100 years. You can trace this back. You can trace some of the early debates back to 1918. So I saw people tracing it back to then, and it's definitely unsettled. And there's a lot of philosophical debate. There's a lot of ideas about what your principles are, and there's also a lot of debate about what education is actually for as well. And depending where you sit on any of those questions, you probably arrive at different answers in terms of what your teaching practice will look like. With that in mind, I'm going to put forward my view.
Sure.
So I am quite traditional. I believe in knowledge. I would emphasize knowledge far more than I would emphasize skills, because I believe knowledge leads into skills more than skills lead into knowledge. And the way to transmit knowledge for me is by someone who knows that knowledge saying it, telling students that knowledge. For example, I have knowledge of how to add two fractions together with different denominators, and I will teach that through a worked example and modelling that process in a classroom where the desks are facing forwards in rows pointing towards me. And I will try not to speak for more than 30 seconds before I ask questions, or I say, okay, you just saw me do that step. You're going to show me that exact step on mini whiteboards now as well. So I will never want anybody to think I'm a lecturer. I'm not. I emphasize active participation of the students, but it's teacher led, and I am modeling my way, and I am choosing this way because I ultimately know better than them, and they do need to learn a really good methods for this, and that's what I'm going to do.
Sorry, before we carry on. So would this be for all grade level or year levels? Like, doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Because I can see the value of that 100% from sort of the GCSE years, because I mean the importance of building on their prior knowledge and being more structured and drill and practice and etc. etc. But I just feel that we don't necessarily give them an opportunity to really get into enjoying and making maths a bit messy and loads of project-based work and that sort of thing in the younger years. So we're trying to incorporate more and more of that at the moment. So I'm just wondering if you're going the other direction that we're trying to go. It's quite. I mean, it's interesting. It's not. I don't know which is right and which is wrong, and who knows.
Yeah. But okay, that's really interesting. The British curriculum is very structured.
Yeah.
And there is definitely a set number of specific learning objectives that they need to achieve every year, and it's quite a lot. It's intense. We in year 7, I think we cover about 17 topics that the year 8 is similar, year 9 is similar, and they need to achieve as close to mastery as they can of those topics.
Okay.
And so it is really structured. There is a place in my practice for group work or a little bit of exploration or things like this, but over 90% of it is the teacher-led direct instruction stuff that I'm talking about, with a lot of independent practice. So you would see at least 20 minutes per lesson of silent, focused, independent practice, interrupted with feedback moments. In my lessons, but that is what it looks like, and I think that might be the difference between an IB curriculum and the British curriculum. But
students these days, with all the social media, all the distractions, I mean, attention spans, I think we've noticed are definitely problematic in some cases, and some students already have have issues with attention deficit disorder, etc. So the way that you structure your lessons, are you needing to be more sort of disciplinarian in some cases, or how do you cope with it?
That's a really good question, and absolutely, there's a problem, and I absolutely noticed that. There's two things I would say. First thing is, I think students would recognise that every second of my lesson is valuable, and so whether they are in the mood for doing some hardcore maths or not, they still recognise that I care that every second of that lesson is valuable because ultimately I'm doing it for their future. And so when I say to them, you're not putting 100% into this lesson right now, I'm expecting more from you, and it's because I care about your future, they know I genuinely think that, and they know me. Especially the students that have been with me since the start of the year, and I understand that. I mean that from my heart. The next thing is the active participation stuff I told you about.
Yeah.
That is the things I underestimated in my early career, and that's how you get students to listen through a 5-minute complete worked example by breaking up with a lot of independent thinking throughout. And then I would also say that while the rest of society is battling against a multi-trillion-dollar attention economy of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, trying to fight for your attention at smaller and smaller bite-sized chunks, we as schools can fight against that. And I think that is part of our job to say to students, you can do what you want at home, but in this moment room right now, you need to learn the value of hard work, dedicated, focused practice, and perseverance on difficult tasks. And I do achieve that especially with my younger years, where we can get 10 minutes of silent work with a timer on the board. And I've had to realize the kind of where I stand in the room for this. For the first 2 minutes of that timer on the board, I'm planted at the very front center of the room, and I'm just stood there tall, scanning the room, making sure there's
just picturing it.
yeah. But
that's good.
I realized that for so many years, I would just go for a walk. I would go wander around the room, to when it was supposed to be independent silent work. And that sends a completely wrong message.
Okay.
Whereas if you plant your feet at the front and you stand there, really prominent, tall, scanning the room, and then the moment a little disruption bubbles, maybe someone asks for a pencil sharpener or something like that. That whispering is a catalyst for something else.
Oh,
and if you're stood there observing for 2 minutes and you set the tone of this lesson to be silent, focused, independent work for those 2 minutes, it means the next 8 minutes when you are circulating, the cultural norm in the room has been embedded, and you're far more likely to get 10 minutes of silent, focused work out of them without the noise level bubbling up. And so I absolutely do believe that in the attention-deprived society that we're in right now, schools can fight back against this. Schools can be a sanctuary of focus in a world that is losing focus, and that's something I passionately believe that my lessons should look like.
Okay. You've implied loads of different skills that you're instilling in the students there. I think what we do is we just make it more visible with our ATL skills, and like we have rubrics and we get them to reflect at the end of the lesson sometimes on a range. Have they sort of done this versus this versus this? Are they an expert or are they a novice? So getting them to make their skills visible and obvious, I guess. But I think you're also teaching the skills, just maybe not making it as obvious. I don't know. That's a generalization.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then devices and AI and that sort of thing. So obviously AI, we can't possibly have a podcast episode without mentioning AI, which that's yes, every school approaches it differently. So what about you as a teacher? AI in your classrooms, in your preparation, in your marking, what does it look like these days?
Yeah. Firstly, the technology is phenomenal, and I am really optimistic about what could come of AI, and teacher-facing AI to accelerate the menial jobs and to also empower the cognitive work teachers do. I think is a big deal, and I think it's going to really, really improve the productivity of our profession. However, that's teacher-facing AI.
Okay.
Student-facing AI is not something I'm a fan of. I do not believe that any school right now is doing a good job of training students to use this responsibly in a way that is better than just outright banning it. And so I would never encourage a student to use AI for the homework. I would never encourage students to use AI in class. Well, I expect for maths, I could probably go into more nuance if it was the IBIA essays or something like that. But generally, I would say the very clear message to students right now is, do not offload your thinking to AI, because your thinking matters. And I don't care how tempting it is to take a screenshot of that homework and put it into ChatGPT. Do not do it, because you will not learn, and you will miss out a vital part of your learning from this. And so I'm very pessimistic with student-facing AI. I'm very optimistic with teacher-facing AI, and I do use it. I am an absolute average user. I am amazed at the power of Claude. Claude is by far my favorite at the moment. And I'll just say a little bit more about that. Like
Sure.
One of my students, he's graduated IB now, but he's left us this in the last few weeks. Sham is has developed a advanced maths do now generator using and he's used AI to code this, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It is the fastest app out there. It's just a website, just a website to generate 4, 6, or 8 questions for your choice of topics, so that when kids walk in, they've got something to do instantly on the board. And it's faster than the alternatives that previously existed. It's for every subject, not just maths. So we're rolling it out for every subject, because only maths really has access to these so far. And all of those questions, well, he's coded it himself using some very impressive back-end stuff, and AI has been really helpful for him to develop that. And then I've been doing the question banks for maths and for French and physics, because I know those subjects fairly well. But I've asked other subject specialists to help with other subjects. And Claude has really understood how to generate these in bulk, but high quality ones as well. I've managed to, with a little bit of tuning, get it to spit out well worded, well made, well thought through maths questions. Because throwing random numbers in front of an X or into a bracket or into a compound interest question doesn't necessarily lead to the variety of questions we're aiming for. But Claude really understands this well, and is able to generate many different variations of the same similar topic in a starter style thing, exactly what I want. And so I'm really enthusiastic of what we've made there, and I do use it every day to do exactly that. But I'm really cautious about students using it daily.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those things we're going to have to digest in our own ways, because they do use it.
Yeah.
And have you heard of Gauth, Gauth?
No.
No,
what's this?
Neither did I until last week, when the students, they don't use ChatGPT for checking maths questions. They can take an image of the maths question, put it into Gauth, and that's now the latest. That gives them a quick breakdown in 1 second of exactly how to solve the thing. I mean, there's others that do it too, but this is apparently the most sort of accurate or whatever. But I mean, this is not new though. Back in Wolfram Alpha, that was like a decade ago, they were already. But this is, I guess, that's a step up.
Society needs to figure this out, and I've not got the answers. There's a wider societal debate that needs to happen around this.
Yeah.
But in my classroom, I'm not gonna let them touch AI for the time being.
What about moving over to the Falcon Journal? What's the full name again? The Falcon Journal of Emerging Scholars. I have no idea, apart from the fact that it sounds like you are supporting students to get published. Maybe you can explain.
Yeah, so let me just make sure I've got the right website name. Yes, it's fjesjournal.com.
Okay.
So I'm loosely connected to this as just part of the editorial team. But I'm really excited to see where this goes. Okay. And what happened was, one of the students at our school a few years ago, he did a fantastic piece of academic writing. In fact, it was a research paper that rivaled the quality of my master's dissertation. And he was only 12 years old at the time, and like absolutely incredible, maybe 13, but yeah, it was absolutely incredible piece of work. And I tried quite hard to submit this to some different academic journals to get published, to get the recognition it was. And it was quite difficult because he was of his age. Anyway, his mum has made the Falcon Journal in the last 2 years and built it up to be a registered academic journal specifically designed for school-age students to publish any academic writing from any subject. And she's done a fantastic job. Lakshmi is her name. And I can't praise her enough for the amount of passion she's brought to this. And I really hope we get to see where it kicks off. And as I say, we are looking for young people to publish on this journal. We have the editorial team of different disciplines. And if there's anybody listening who's either a teacher who supervises this kind of work or a student who is interested in this kind of work, please do go to the website and get in touch to get yourself published. For example, if one of your IB students is doing their extended essay and just wants to push that quite a bit further and go run with that idea, that's the kind of thing we're looking for. I think it's a fantastic initiative. We are looking for students from all over the UAE and the region to get involved. And the more schools, the more teachers we have in the community in the contact list, the more successful this will be.
Right. So why don't we finish off by hearing about your doctorate studies, doctoral studies? You've been going for a while, haven't you? Where are you in that process?
Yeah, so I started about 3 years ago, and I'm doing an education doctorate, which is, it's been a really rewarding academic pursuit. I have really loved it. I've torn my hair out at times with it, but it's really developed me in ways I didn't know it would, as both a practitioner and a thinker and an academic. It's massively transformed my classroom practice. It's also transformed how I approach advanced maths, and it's also spurred me on to lead on things like professional development at school and to lead the Abu Dhabi Maths Teachers Conference. The specific field I'm looking at is I was interested in digital animations and the role animations may have in developing conceptual understanding. And in my intuition has always been that if you show a student an animation, a really well-designed animation of a mathematical concept that dynamically moves in the right way or directs attention in the right way, that will help them build a mental model of that concept that they can manipulate in their own head in some way. And you can a classic one would be like graph transformations. Where if you've got a mental model of what multiplying by 5 looks like, you're going to be able to think deeper about that concept. And I always thought the best way to communicate that would be if you literally show that animation on the screen for them to digest that and internalize that model. And there's other reasons why animations might be interesting as well, like directing attention or synchronizing with narration, or even things like managing working memory capacity. So you present the exact right amount of information at the exact right moment in time so that the cognitive resources of the human brain are never overloaded.
Wow.
However, what I did is I compared, I spent 9 months developing a set of 4 hours of animated lessons, and I set 50 students in 2 classrooms doing those lessons, and 50 students doing traditional direct instruction lesson with 2 of my really gifted colleagues. And I was hoping that I could beat the direct instruction, and as you know, as I said to you, direct instruction is what I believe is the most credible alternative for teaching conceptual understanding in secondary maths classrooms. And so I compared the 2 and ran it for a week. I did a pre-test and a post-test to collect data on their before and afters, and I was mainly interested in progress in conceptual understanding, but I also measured progress in general maths.
Okay.
By the way, this is a hot take. I've not spoken about this publicly yet. So this is the unpublished thesis. This is brand new. This is a hot scoop for you, Vaughn. Yeah. So anyway, I compared the two, and I was disappointed to realise that the direct instruction actually came out in front, and the animations that I was really optimistic about didn't outperform. And I've spent a lot of time reflecting on why that might happen. I think a big part of it is this idea of edtech and unsupervised learning. There's no social connection with somebody else in the room to ensure that attention is constant throughout. I think that's a big thing that I underestimated when I was designing this. I should say that the results are not statistically significant. So I've not reached the 5% that I was aiming for significance that I was hoping for in the t-tests. But the direct instruction group did inch out in front by a small margin. So yeah, that's where we're at, and I'm currently writing it up. I've got the word count down. I met with my supervisor last week, and he gave me a huge amount of things that need correcting, but there's no really optimistically, there's no radical changes that need to happen. The nuts and bolts are there. It's just a matter of refining and making sure it's doctoral level ready in terms of the writing style, the presentation, things like that. But it's really coming together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing to do on top of everything else. Goodness gracious. So looking forward to reading it eventually. I imagine those students that went through the animations class, they probably benefited in terms of some sort of transfer of skills, but it's hard to quantify or measure or whatever. So next 5 to 10 years, final question: what excites you about maths education?
Maths education in the next 5 to 10 years. Well, there's a growing community in the UAE of people really interested in the science of learning and what the evidence says about optimal approaches to education. I'm really encouraged by that. I think the science of learning movement in the UK, starting in 2010 to 2012, has been absolutely transformative, and I've read a bit of the history about that, and it's really interesting what happened in England specifically. It wasn't the devolved nations; it was England, and just a few things were in the right place at the right time that led to that happening. And I think we're set up internationally in a few other countries for the same grassroots movement to change how we approach things, and the classroom teachers taking a more central role in scrutinizing what the research really says, and questioning some of the assumptions that we made previously about practice. And so the science of learning movement internationally is gaining speed. I'm presenting at Research Ed Doha in Qatar in November, I think, or maybe October, in November. And I'm really excited about that. And I don't know if you've heard of Research Ed, but Research Ed is originated in the UK, and now it's in lots of different countries worldwide. And for me, it's the big education conference that all the people I really admire go to from across the world. Probably quite a few names you might have heard of, like Dylan William, etc. Will frequent these events. I don't know who the keynote speaker will be, but I'm hoping they'll get someone impressive. They normally do. But that growing movement is exciting.
What are you presenting on?
It'll probably be direct instruction. So some variant of knowledge-rich direct instruction, or something like that. My other classic go-to one is conceptual understanding, and I go into a lot of detail about defining exactly what conceptual understanding is, and discussing what the how you build up a concept in the student's mind over time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to presenting, and I love talking about this stuff.
I think one thing we do need to do is have a closer look at your tie. Could you show your tie close to the camera, please? It's quite it's a pie tie. I actually have a pie tie in my cupboard, but I won't faff around trying to find it. It's bright red. One day we can potentially attend something together. Maybe we'll wear it next Saturday. But actually, no, cool. There's no way I'm wearing a tie next Saturday. I apologize. I'll bring it along just to show.
I have a pie tie and a chest tie, and the my 2 geek ties. They're good.
Excellent. Well, this has been fascinating, and I appreciate it. It's been a long chat. I massively appreciate your time. It's a crazy time of the year, and so just a reminder to anyone who has listened this long to still sign up for the conference, and I will put all the details in the episode description.
Thank you so much, Vaughan. I really enjoyed this discussion. It was really interesting talking to you today.
Yeah, thanks, Will, and looking forward to seeing you next Saturday. Cheers, mate.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.